You don't need to know who I'm with. We're on a break. That's the message Emily fired off at 2 a.m., smirking at the man sitting next to her while thinking Jake would still be waiting in the morning. She thought she was teaching him a lesson in distance. She had no idea he'd already written the final chapter of their story, one that would make her beg for a reply she'd never get. Viewers, have you ever watched someone play games with your love, only to realize they were the ones who'd lose? It was 2:03 in the morning when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. The glow from the screen lit up the dark corner of my room like a flash grenade. I remember squinting through the haze, half asleep, expecting some random spam notification, not her name, Emily. For a second, I didn't even open it. We hadn't spoken for a week. Our break, as she called it, was supposed to give us both space. But you don't expect space to feel like a crater you can't climb out of. I stared at that notification bubble until the preview text rolled across the lock screen. You don't need to know who I'm with. We're on a break, that's all it said. Nothing before. Nothing after. My thumb hovered over the screen the way a diver hesitates before a long jump. I didn't open the message. Not yet, I didn't have to. The words were already carved into my head, burning their shape behind my eyes. It wasn't jealousy. It was confirmation. The kind that doesn't shout, just whispers, you were right to worry. I sat up, rubbed my face, and stared at the ceiling fan turning slowly above me. The air was heavy, the kind that sticks to your skin. Dallas summers have that way of making even silence feel humid. A week earlier, Emily had said we needed to pause. She said things had felt different, that maybe we were too predictable. I thought it was just her being overwhelmed with work. She was starting a marketing job downtown, surrounded by people who wore their ambition like designer suits. I was still fixing HVAC units for a living. Honest work, but not glamorous. I never minded. She said she didn't either, until that night. We were sitting at our favorite diner, the one on Elm Street with the flickering neon sign and the best pecan pie in the city. She was stirring her coffee, eyes distant, the way people look when they're rehearsing bad news. Jake, she said softly, I think we should take a break. The words landed like a punch, not because of what she said, but because of how calm she was saying it. No anger, no tears, just clinical detachment. A break? I asked. Like, for how long? I don't know, she replied, still avoiding my eyes. I just need to breathe. To think. I remember laughing, not the funny kind. And I'm what, oxygen? You need to be away from me to breathe. Don't make it sound ugly, she said, her voice breaking just a little. I just need to figure out if this is what I really want. If this is what I really want. That's the sentence people use when they already have one foot out the door. Now, sitting in that dim room at 2 a.m., those words looped in my mind until I wanted to throw the phone across the room. I didn't. I just turned it over, screen down, and stared into the dark. A part of me wanted to drive to her apartment right then, to demand answers, to see if space meant what I thought it did. But another part, the quieter, colder own, told me not to give her that satisfaction. So I did something that surprised even me. I didn't reply. Not that night. Not the next morning. I let silence answer for me. By the third day, Sam, my best friend, noticed something was off. You look like hell, he said, sliding into the booth across from me at a diner near the job site. What's going on? I shrugged. Emily, we're on a break, he raised an eyebrow. A break? That's never good, man. You sure she's not seeing someone? I didn't want to admit it, but the question hit too close. I just shook my head and changed the subject. Sam leaned back, crossing his arms. You've been together 3 years. If she wanted space, she'd have gone for a walk. A break usually means someone else is waiting in the wings. His words lingered like cigarette smoke. I hated that he might be right. That night, I reread the text again. Every word cut deeper the more I looked at it. You don't need to know who I'm with. That was the part that did it. The arrogance in it. The indifference. Like she was daring me to care. So I made a decision. If she wanted a break, I'd make it permanent. But endings don't happen cleanly. They echo, and hers was just beginning to echo in ways I never expected. Days passed like slow-moving cars in rush-hour traffic. Loud, stuck and going nowhere. I thought ignoring her message would give me peace. But silence can be louder than any argument. It starts echoing in your head until even the quietest memory feels deafening. I went back to work like nothing happened. Wrenches, coils, compressors, They all kept my hands busy, but my mind wouldn't stop rewinding. Every hum of an air conditioner felt like background music to thoughts I didn't want. At lunch, I sat in the back of the van, scrolling through my phone like an addict looking for closure. Her social media was still public. Bad decision on my part. I told myself I wouldn't check. Then I did. Her latest post was from some rooftop bar. String lights, cocktails, laughter frozen in pixels. She was smiling, head tilted, eyes closed. That smile, the one that used to be mine. But what froze me wasn't her. It was the shadow next to her. A man's hand resting on the table beside hers. Just a fragment, a hint. Enough to ruin my appetite. I locked my phone and tossed it to the floorboard. That was the first time I realized heartbreak isn't just sadness. It's humiliation wrapped in silence. It's pride fighting love and love refusing to stay down. That evening, Sam stopped by my apartment. He carried a six-pack and the kind of look friends get when they're about to stage an emotional rescue. "You're not answering her, right?" he asked, dropping onto the couch. "Nope." "Good. Don't. If she's out there posting like she's single, let her be single." I nodded, but I wasn't sure I believed it. Love doesn't shut off like a switch. It lingers, like a song that keeps playing after you've turned off the radio. Sam opened a beer and continued, "You need to start living again, man. Go out, see people. Stop letting her live rent-free in your head." "Easier said than done." He grinned. "Come to Lena's party this weekend. She's Emily's friend, but half the city shows up to her place. Maybe you'll run into someone who reminds you life goes on." The mention of Lena's name stirred something. She'd always been the neutral one. Kind, genuine, the type who saw more than she said. I wasn't sure if seeing her would help or make things worse. But part of me wanted to face it, to see how Emily's world looked without me in it. Saturday came. I showed up late wearing the cleanest shirt I owned. The house was packed, laughter spilling out of every room, music pulsing through the walls. For a second I almost turned back, then Lena spotted me. "Jake, you came," she said, pulling me into a hug. Her eyes softened. "You okay?" "Getting there," she sighed. I wish I could say she is too. That caught my attention. "Emily?" Lena hesitated, glancing around before leaning closer. "She's not herself lately. Acts like everything's fine, but you can see through it. She's with someone, Tom, I think. But honestly, it looks more like a distraction than happiness." "Tom." The name hit like static. Lena nodded. "He's one of her co-workers. Flashy type. You know the kind. Expensive cologne, empty words. She's been trying too hard to seem okay." I didn't reply. I just looked down at my drink, pretending it mattered more than the conversation. "She messed up, Jake," Lena said softly. "You didn't deserve what she did." There it was, validation. It didn't fix the hole, but it stopped the bleeding for a moment. Later that night, as I stood on the back porch watching the city lights, my phone buzzed again. "Emily, I missed talking to you." Just 5 words. No apology. No explanation. I didn't answer. Instead, I locked the screen, slid it into my pocket, and stared at the skyline. For the first time, I realized silence could be power. Maybe not revenge, but something close. Self-respect. As I drove home that night, I replayed Lena's words. She's not herself. Maybe that should have made me feel sorry for her. But instead, all I felt was distance, like she was already a story that had ended, even if she didn't know it yet. The next morning, my mom called. "She doesn't miss anything." "Haven't heard your voice in a while," she said. "You okay, Jake?" "Yessa," I lied. You never were good at lying," she replied, gentle but firm. "I saw that girl's pictures online. Don't let someone else's confusion make you question your worth, honey. Sometimes a break is just a test to see if you'll break yourself trying to hold it together." That stuck with me. My mom never said much, but when she did, it landed deep. By the end of that week, I decided to cut her off completely. Deleted her number. Blocked her on everything. If she wanted freedom, I'd give her silence and the permanent kind, but life has a way of circling back when you least expect it, and I was about to find out that silence can make some people panic, especially the ones who never thought they'd lose your attention for good. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for the silence to stop hurting and start healing. Every morning got a little easier. I went for runs before work, started cooking again. Actual food, not microwave junk. My playlist changed too. No sad songs, no us songs. Just the kind that made you feel like you were reclaiming something you'd forgotten was yours. Peace. I even started talking to people again. Not dating, not yet, just conversations. The kind where you laugh without thinking about who used to sit across from you. Sam noticed the difference. Finally, he said one night at the bar, "You're starting to look like yourself again." "Guess the world didn't end after all," I replied with a grin. He raised his glass. To fresh starts, we clinked bottles. For the first time in weeks, the sound didn't echo loneliness, and it sounded like freedom. Then came the message. It wasn't from Emily this time. It was from Lena. "Hey Jake, you might want to know, Emily's been asking about you." "A lot." I stared at the screen for a while. Then curiosity won. "What's she saying?" I texted back. Lena hesitated before responding. "She's not doing great. That guy she was seeing, Tom, it's getting messy. He's been distant, kind of cold." She looked strained. Said she wishes she could go back. Go back. The irony made me laugh. A bitter, quiet laugh that didn't reach my eyes. I didn't reply after that. I told myself I didn't care. But the truth? Part of me wanted to hear her say it herself. That night, around midnight, my phone buzzed again. The name I hadn't seen in weeks glowed on the screen. "Emily. Hey, can we talk?" I stared at the message. 3 words: fragile, hesitant, late. For a second, I almost replied. Then I remembered the last one she sent. "You don't need to know who I'm with." The memory felt like an iron door slamming shut. I didn't answer. But she didn't stop there. Minutes later, another message. "Please, Jake, just 5 minutes. I need to explain." "Explain what?" That her break wasn't really a break, but a soft exit strategy? I powered off my phone and tossed it onto the couch. If there's one thing heartbreak teaches you, it's that closure doesn't always come with explanations. Sometimes silence is the explanation. The next few days were quiet, until I ran into her. It was a Friday evening, grocery store parking lot. The kind of coincidence you'd swear the universe planned just to see how much self-control you've developed. She looked different. Not bad, just worn down. Her hair tied back in a messy bun, sweatshirt too big, eyes tired. The kind of tired that comes from pretending you're fine when you're not. "Jake," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I turned, keeping my tone even. "Hey." We stood there for a second, surrounded by shopping carts and fading daylight. "I've been trying to reach you," she said, fidgeting with her sleeve. I noticed. I just wanted to talk. Things didn't go the way I thought they would. "Yeah," I said quietly. "That tends to happen when you test people who actually loved you." Her eyes dropped. I didn't mean for it to be like that, but it was. Silence stretched between us, heavy but honest. "Tom wasn't..." She stopped mid-sentence, shaking her head. "He's not who I thought he was." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But sympathy fades when you remember someone left you to figure out who they wanted at your expense. "Emily," I said, my voice calm. "I'm not mad anymore, but I'm not waiting either." She blinked fast, holding back tears. "I just wish..." "I know," I cut in. "We both wish a lot of things." I turned, pushing my cart toward the exit. I didn't look back. Because I knew if I did, I might have seen the face I used to love and felt something I wasn't ready to feel again. That night, she sent another message. "You were right to walk away." I just didn't realize it until it was too late. I read it once, twice, and then deleted it. Sometimes, not replying is the loudest answer you can give. But what I didn't know was that her story with Tom was already falling apart faster than she could control. And soon, her choices would circle back in ways I couldn't ignore. Not because I wanted to help her, but because I was about to see what real regret looks like when the mask finally cracks. A month passed, enough time for wounds to scab over, but not enough for them to vanish. By then I had stopped expecting to hear from her. The text stopped, the memories faded into background noise, and life, somehow, found rhythm again. Work was steady. I got promoted to lead tech, which meant more hours but better pay. Sam and I started talking about renting a better apartment, one with a balcony where we could actually see the skyline instead of brick walls. Life felt lighter, simple, predictable in a way I could finally trust. Then Lena called. "Jake, I'm sorry to drag you into this," she said, voice shaky, "but Emily's in a rough spot." I hesitated. "What kind of rough?" "Tom kind. He's been cheating on her. Everyone at work knows." She tried to confront him and he just... Lena paused, searching for words. He told her it was never serious, that she was just a distraction. I exhaled slowly, rubbing the bridge of my nose. There was a time that sentence would have wrecked me. Now it just stung in a distant way, like a scar that remembers pain even after it heals. She's humiliated, Lena continued. Crying at work, can't sleep, barely eating. I don't know if she's hoping you'll reach out, but she's not okay. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling fan. Life has an odd sense of balance. It doesn't forget what people do. It just waits to remind them. I appreciate you telling me, Lena, I said finally, but that's not my problem anymore. I know, she whispered. I just thought you'd want to know. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I missed Emily. That part of me was gone. But because I remembered what it felt like to be on the other side of that pain. To watch someone you care about choose someone else, only to realize they'd chosen wrong. By morning, I'd made peace with it. Everyone learned somehow. Some lessons just hurt more than others. A week later, I ran into Sam at the gym. He slapped me on the back and grinned. You hear the news? What news? Tom, Emily's break partner. He's gone viral on TikTok for all the wrong reasons. His ex posted screenshots of him flirting with 3 women at once. Guy's reputation tanked. I shook my head, half amused, half unsurprised. Guess karma doesn't miss. Never does, Sam said, cracking open a water bottle. You dodged a grenade, man. Be glad she left when she did. I smiled faintly. Oh, I am. But later that night my phone buzzed again. Emily, I know I don't deserve it, but can we please talk? Just once I almost ignored it, almost. But something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, wanted to hear her voice one last time. So against my better judgment, I replied, tomorrow, 6 p.m. The old diner. Her response came instantly. Thank you. The next day I sat in that same booth on Elm Street, the one where she first asked for space. Funny how life circles back to its starting points when it's ready to end something for good. She arrived late, eyes red, hair down, face pale. She looked smaller somehow, like life had drained the confidence out of her. Thanks for meeting me, she said quietly, sliding into the seat across from me. I nodded. You said you wanted to talk. She took a deep breath. I messed up, Jake. I thought I needed space to figure things out, but all I did was lose the one person who ever cared for me without conditions. Her voice trembled. Tom, he was charming at first, said all the right things, but he was never real. He ghosted me last week, blocked my number. I saw him with someone else 2 days later. I stayed quiet. I didn't gloat, didn't smile. I just let her speak because sometimes silence is more powerful than words. I deserve this, she whispered. I know that. But seeing how you moved on, it made me realize what I threw away. For a long moment, the only sound between us was the hum of the neon sign outside. Finally, I said, Emily, I cared about you deeply, but love can't survive disrespect. You wanted a break, I just made it permanent. Her eyes glistened. Is there any way back? I looked down at my coffee, then back at her. No, but I hope you find your way forward. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I wish I could undo it. Me too, I said softly. But wishing doesn't change the past. When I walked out of that diner, something in me felt lighter, not because I won, but because I finally understood. Forgiveness isn't for the other person. It's for the part of you that refuses to stay broken. As I stepped into the evening air, I knew this chapter was done, or at least I thought it was, because sometimes closure isn't an ending and it's a test, and mine was about to show up in a way I never saw coming. For a while, peace actually felt real, not borrowed, not temporary. Real. After that diner talk, I stopped checking my phone every morning. The quiet didn't bother me anymore. I'd fill my days with work, late-night drives, even started volunteering at a local youth center on weekends. It gave me something that heartbreak never could. Purpose. Sam noticed. You're different, man, he said one Friday night as we sat on the tailgate of his truck watching the city lights. No bitterness, no obsession, just calm. Guess I ran out of reasons to be angry, I said. At some point, you just stop fighting what's already gone. He nodded. That's when you know you've healed. But life has a way of testing your peace the moment you start believing in it. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Lena showed up at the job site. Hard hat, clipboard, and an apologetic smile. She worked for the contractor company that had hired us for a new apartment complex. "Didn't expect to see you here," I said, surprised. "Neither did I," she replied, tucking her hair behind her ear. "Emily told me you were doing well. She still asks about you sometimes." I sighed quietly. "I hope she's okay." Lena hesitated. "She's trying. Therapy, new job search, keeping to herself. She hasn't dated anyone since Tom." "That's good," I said, though my tone was neutral. She studied me for a second. "You really let go, didn't you?" "I had to." Lena smiled softly. "You're stronger than you think." That night I got a text, not from Emily and me, from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, this is Claire. I met you at the community center last week. You helped fix the AC. I owe you coffee." For a second I smiled without realizing it. It felt light, easy, harmless. I said yes. We met that Friday at a small cafe near downtown. She was kind, funny, the type who listened without trying to fix you. And when she laughed, it wasn't forced. It filled the space like sunlight through open blinds. By the time we said goodbye, I realized I hadn't thought about Emily once during that entire conversation. That was my silent victory. 2 weeks passed. Claire and I started seeing each other regularly. Slow, simple, no labels. Just presence. It was refreshing to be with someone who didn't make love feel like a battlefield. Then one evening Emily called. Not texted. Called. For a moment I just stared at her name flashing on the screen. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered. "Hey," I said, cautious. Her voice was soft, hesitant. "Hi, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I just wanted to say, thank you." "For what?" "For meeting me that day. For not making it ugly. You could have said a lot of things, but you didn't." I leaned against the counter. "It wasn't worth saying. We both know how it ended." "I know," she whispered. "But I need to tell you something." There was a long pause. I heard her breathing, shaky, uneven. "I saw you with someone," she said, "last week, at the cafe near 6th Street. My grip on the phone tightened. "You followed me?" "No, and it wasn't like that," she said quickly. "I was passing by. I just saw you smiling, and I realized that's the smile I used to get, and I ruined it." Her voice cracked. It hit me how much I took for granted. How selfish I was. "And I don't want to interrupt your life, Jake. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." For a moment I didn't speak. The old me would have wanted her to hurt the way I did. But now, all I felt was understanding. "I forgive you, Emily," I said finally. Not because it fixes anything, but because I don't want to carry it anymore. There was silence. Then a quiet sob. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that." "Take care of yourself," I said softly, and hung up. Later that night, I sat on my balcony, looking at the city lights stretching toward the horizon. There was peace in that view, but also something else. Closure, real, complete closure. Claire texted me soon after. "You okay? You seemed quiet earlier." "Yeah," I replied. "Just letting go of some old ghosts." "Good. Then maybe it's time to live again," she wrote, adding a little coffee emoji. I smiled, but deep down, I knew this wasn't quite the end, because closure, as I'd learned, doesn't always mean the past stays buried. Sometimes it circles back one last time, not to reopen wounds, but to show how far you've healed since they were made. And soon, I'd find out that Emily's story and mine still had one more chapter left to write. 2 months later, autumn rolled into the city, crisp mornings, soft skies, the kind of air that feels like a fresh start. I hadn't heard from Emily again, and that was fine. Some stories don't need sequels. Some just need distance. Claire and I were still seeing each other, slow and steady. Nothing dramatic, nothing forced. She was warmth without pressure, laughter without tension. Every time I looked at her, I felt calm instead of anxiety, the kind of calm that tells you you're where you're supposed to be. Life was quiet, and for once, quiet felt good. Then, one Saturday morning, as I was helping at the community center, Lena showed up again. She was carrying boxes of donated coats, her smile genuine but tired. "Long time no see," I said, holding the door open. "Too long," she replied. "You look happy." "I am," she nodded. "Emily moved to Austin last week." New job. She said she couldn't stay here. Too many reminders. I paused, surprised by the strange relief that washed over me. That's probably the best thing for her. It is, Lena said. She's trying hard to rebuild. She told me she's still blocked on your phone, but she wrote something she wanted me to give you. She reached into her bag and handed me a sealed envelope. My first instinct was to refuse it, but I didn't. I just nodded and slipped it into my jacket pocket. I didn't open it right away. Not that day, not the next. It sat on my dresser for almost a week, like a ghost waiting for permission to speak. Finally, one evening after work, I opened it. The letter was handwritten, her neat, looping cursive instantly familiar. Jake, I know you don't owe me your time, but I wanted to say this without interruptions. I was selfish. I thought freedom meant doing what I wanted without consequences. I thought space would help me appreciate what I had, but instead, it showed me how empty things are without real love behind them. Tom wasn't my downfall. I was. I chose him because I mistook excitement for connection. I wanted to feel something new when what I had was already everything I needed. I see that now. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you remember me kindly someday. Not for the mistake I made, but for the love we once shared. You were good to me, Jake. I hope you're good to yourself now. Emily, I read it twice, then folded it back carefully and set it on the counter. There was no anger left. No satisfaction either. Just understanding. Sometimes people break things not because they don't value them, but because they don't understand their worth until they're holding the pieces. That weekend, Claire and I drove out of the city. No plans, no destination. Just long roads and open skies. We stopped by a small diner off the highway, ordered pancakes and black coffee, and talked about everything from music to childhood dreams. At one point, she looked at me and said, "You ever think about how every heartbreak teaches you something? Like you lose one version of yourself and gain another?" I smiled. Yeah, I think I finally learned that losing someone isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of being who you should have been all along. She nodded, reaching across the table to take my hand. Then I'm glad you made it through. Weeks turned into months. The pain that once felt permanent became something else. Perspective. I started mentoring at the community center full-time, teaching kids how to work with tools, how to build something real with their hands. There's something healing about watching others create when you've finally learned to rebuild yourself. Every now and then, I'd pass by that old diner on Elm Street. The neon sign still flickered. The same waitress still poured coffee with a tired smile. And every time I saw it, I'd remember how endings don't always mean failure. Sometimes, they're the proof that you were brave enough to start over. One evening, as I locked up the center, Sam called. "Man, you disappeared," he said, laughing. "Still Mr. Peaceful?" "Guess so," I said. "Feels strange, doesn't it?" He chuckled. "Not really. You earned it." As I hung up, I looked out at the sunset spilling orange over the skyline. For the first time in a long time, I felt grateful. Not for what I lost, but for what it taught me. If you asked me today what I'd say to Emily, I'd keep it simple. Thank you. Because sometimes heartbreak is the best teacher. It teaches you what love isn't, so you'll recognize it when it finally comes back around. And if you ever find yourself reading a text at 2 a.m. that says, "You don't need to know who I'm with, we're on a break," remember this: you don't owe anyone your silence, your waiting, or your worth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Let them go. Let the break be permanent, and let peace find you where heartbreak once lived.